Good morning, students. Today we are going to see literature review, or you can say review of literature. So review of literature is an essential step in your nursing research. Let's see what is actually the literature review means. A literature review is a written summary of journals, articles, books and other documents that describe the past and current state of information on the topic of your research study. So as the name says, literature review. So here the literature is nothing but the research study done by the other nursing personals, and you are going to have a review. You are going to have a go through with those studies to have a reference of your problem statement. So we'll see the definition. A literature review is an assessment of a body of research that addresses a research question. Then we'll see a second definition according to Burns and Groove. An organized written presentation of what has been published on a topic by the scholars. Then according to Taylor, an account of what has been published by accredited scholars and researchers. So your research is part of your study in nursing, and that you are going to record, and that is what the literature review is, one of the essential steps that will show the evidence of your nursing research. Then we'll see the characteristics of a good quality literature of review. A good review of literature must be comprehensive. Must be comprehensive means that whatever research study you are doing, it can be of 100 pages, 500 pages, 1000 pages, but at last you have to comprehensive. Your study will be comprehensive. It should be precise. That you should cut short your statements and give a perfect literature review that will describe all your studies done. Then it should include up-to-date references. Up-to-date references means latest references that you have used for your studies. Then it should be systemic. Systemic means system-wise, step-by-step. Then it should be reproducible. Reproducible means it should be useful. It should be free from bias. Bias means there should not be any errors or problems. Then it should be well written. Well written means the grammars, the spellings, everything should be perfect. It should be in the form of sum of its part. So whatever you have done, it should be part of your research statement. Else it should not include anything else. It should be clearly searched and selected. So your research should be properly done and it should be perfect. Accurate references should be given in the review. So whatever things you are using for your research, whatever journals, publications, internet medias, whatever you are using, you should give an accurate reference of those materials you are using. Then we'll see the factors affecting review of literature. What factors can affect your review of literature? First is researcher's background. An experienced researcher finds it easy to prepare a review of literature than a beginner. So it is obvious the researcher who is experienced, that means he has done so many researches, so it is very easy for him to have a review of literature in one view. Otherwise, a beginner will be very tense to prepare a review of literature. Then complexity of the research project. Complexity means very simple words should be used in your research. So since it is told that your literature of review should be comprehensive, so it is very necessary to use the simple words to cut down your research study done and make it in a review of literature. Then availability of resources. So you should have proper availability of resources to write the literature of review. You cannot write an imaginary research literature review. So for that you need a proper journal, internet and so on to have a proper literature review. Then study time frame. To conduct a relevant review of literature, sufficient time is needed. To frame a proper literature of review, you should give a proper time. Availability of support system. Whoever is there with you, your scholars, peer group, whoever, they should be all the time ready for your help, and you should also include them when you are writing the literature of review. Then purpose of review of literature, for what we are doing this review of literature. It helps to identify what is already known but a research problem. So since we are taking a research statement, so it should have some evidence of other researchers. So for that we are doing a review of literature. It helps to build on previous knowledge. So it is also helping you to know what is already done, and it helps you to do a new research statement in order to prove your new findings. Many published research studies contain recommendation for future research from which we can get idea for a new research study. Since we are doing a research study, so at the end we are always making some probability chances of other research studies to be done. So if we are doing review of literature, so it helps us, or it gives us an idea to have another study on the same problem statement. It makes researcher know that research has already been done in a particular area so as to avoid duplication. So as I have already told, when you are doing review of literature, so you come to know that this problem statement is already done by somebody else, so you do not need to do it again, so it avoids the duplication. It is necessary to narrow the problem to be studied. So it is very necessary to ease down the statements or problems to help the people. Identify questions a body of research does not answer. So it is very helpful for the researcher to find out the questions that a body of researcher cannot do. Then it helps researcher to get acquainted with the relevant theories, strategies, tools and instruments for conducting the research. When you are doing research review of literature, then it will help you to know the certain things such as strategies, tools, instruments used by the researcher. Then accordingly you can plan for your own research based on your review of literature. It helps you understand the different ways of conducting the research study. Then with the review of literature you can also get an idea that how you can conduct a study in seeing the others' review of studies. It helps to identify comparative data, so helps to interpretation and discussions of previous study. So it helps you to compare with the other studies that how you can make your studies more better than other researchers, those who have previously done the research. Then we will see the resources, how this review of literature can be collected. So sources of review of literature, there are mainly two sources, primary sources and secondary sources. So primary sources is first hand information you are going to have. So we'll see what is primary. In the primary sources of information, the author reports his own work directly in the form of research articles, books, monographs, dissertation and thesis. Research published by educational journals are an example of this type of journal. So in primary sources, the researcher itself published his own studies in the form of general thesis, dissertations, in which it is a first-hand information given by a researcher. Then we'll go for the secondary sources. Secondary sources is second information from somebody else. So the author compiles and summarizes the finding of the work done by others and gives interpretation of these findings. Example, Encyclopedia of Education, education indexes, abstracts, bibliographies, bibliographical references and quotations, etc. So primary sources are directly done by the researcher, and in secondary sources it is the work of the other but summarized by the other persons in order to help the new beginners researchers. Then we'll see what are the main sources of review of literature, how you can collect the review of literature. So in these, certain things are electronic database, books, journals, conference papers, thesis, encyclopedia and dictionary, research reports, magazines and newspapers. So these are the resources from where you can collect your review of literature. For further details, you can refer the books. Then we will see strategies of writing a literature review. Strategies of writing a literature review means literature of review also needs certain headings and certain steps. So we'll see. So there are mainly three elements of literature review, or you can say writing a literature review. So there are introduction, body and conclusion. So these are the three elements of your literature review. Then we'll see how to organize it. Then how you're going to organize these steps. So first is an introduction. An introduction on or background information section, it gives a quick idea of the topic of the literature review, such as the central theme or organizational pattern. So whenever you're going to write a literature review, first you have to write the introduction, and it should be short enough to give a quick review, or you can say give a quick idea of what actually you have mentioned in your review of literature. Then second is the body of the review. Contains your discussions of resources and is organized either chronologically, thematically, or methodologically. Then this body of review uses all your methods what you have used in your nursing research, your tool, your skills, your data presentation methods, analysis, everything you're going to mention in this body of review, but in a precise form. Then conclusion and or recommendations. Discuss what you have understood after reviewing what other authors have said. So in conclusion, you are going to write, after doing a research, what result you have found out and what you have understood, and you can also mention on your basis of your research statement further what other researches can be conducted in context to your problem statement. So this is what you're going to write in a review of literature. Then we'll see writing the body of the review. So what special thing you are going to mention in your body of review? A literature review is usually organized around ideas, not the sources themselves. This means that you will not just simply list your sources and go into detail about each one of them one at a time. No. Create a thematic organizational method by organizing the articles you find in the topics and subtopics. Then develop the review based on what they have in common. So in your review, body of review, you are not going to write the deep study findings what you have actually done, but you are going to mention each and everything of your research study and making sure that you give a precise knowledge, including a brief discussion. Then see here the example. In example, the researcher has concluded his study in a single, you can say here, maximum it goes for 1 to 2 sheets. Then we'll see here you can see there is written Vancouver-style. Vancouver-style is nothing but you can say your bibliography. What method you are using for normal bibliography is APA style. So in nursing research, we are not using APA style of bibliography, but we are using Vancouver style. So we'll see what actually in Vancouver style you are going to do. So we'll see here, number all references. So it is very necessary that you should include at least 10 to 12 references in your bibliography. In that bibliography, you should mention each with the numbers. That is, if you are using 12 bibliographies, so you should mention 1, 2 and so on. Then arrange your list in the order in which the references appear in your text. So as you have used in your research, in that manner you should mention. For example, you can take when you are writing a problem statement and you are going to define your research statements. So you should have used some books, so you should mention in those manner as you are moving step by step, and whatever text, whatever materials you have used for your nursing research, in so and so manner you should list down your bibliographies. Then if there are more than 6 authors, list the first 6 authors followed by et al. So if you are using if your book is having more than 6 authors, so you should mention this et al. At the last. Then in-text citation. Write the reference with an Arabic number in brackets after the citation. So you should write some Arabic numbers, means normal numbers, and then you should in the brackets it should be written. If you cite several sources in one sentence, cite them as 2 to 4 to refer to sources 2, 3 and 4, and 2-4, 8 to refer to sources 2, 3 and 8. So whenever you are writing any page numbers you are showing in your bibliography, so you should mention in order 2-4, that is when it is in continuation, and if you go for another page number that is different from the continuation, so you should mention comma. Then Quotations. Quotation of 3 lines or fewer are placed in the quotes quotation marks before and after. So 3 lines quotation marks are there. You should place this before or after. Quotations of more than 3 lines should have their own indented paragraph without quotation marks. So if it is more than 3 lines, you should make it separate para without a quotation marks. You can see here the example given how you have to write a bibliography. So first is the author. After author, you have to keep full stop. Make sure you are going good with the punctuation marks. You should use whatever is mentioned in the Vancouver-style. So here they have mentioned the author name. After that, they have kept a full stop. Then they have mentioned the title of the book, and then after that, whatever the book type, they have mentioned it in a bracket. Again, after that, they have kept a full stop. Then publication is again mentioned in a bracket. After that, they have kept a semicolon. Then they have mentioned the publisher, and after that, they have kept a you can see comma. Then they have mentioned the date in which it is published, and then type of pages. So like this, you have to write the bibliography. You can come here again. It is mentioned how you have to write author name, then content type, type of medium, place of publication, publisher, date of publication, pagination, physical, description, language, notes. So this is the method you are going to use in writing bibliography for your research. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Thank you.